A little about our region. Armenia is located east of Turkey, north of Iran on this map. The country is 12,000 square miles, or about the size of Maryland or Belgium. Half of Armenia has an elevation of 6,000 feet above sea level. The highest point, Mount Aragats, is 13,000 feet, and the capital city Yerevan lies 3,000 feet above sea level. Armenia has a population of 3 million, with 7 million in the worldwide diaspora, and it's a diaspora that's highly engaged with the country since independence. Annual per capita household income is $1,300 US, or about $4 per day. It's ranked in the Human Development Index at 85th out of 188 countries, which is in a category comparable to Albania. And while there's poverty in rural areas, the city of Yerevan is very cosmopolitan with a European feel, cafes and wine bars, and lots of tourism and culture. And our work at the Armenia Tree Project is geared especially toward the rural areas where we found the need is the greatest. Armenia is recovering from a legacy of being part of the Soviet Union for 70 years. The country, or really its second largest city, was struck by a massive earthquake in 1988, and Armenia declared independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. In the 18th century, forest cover was 18%, down to 11% by the forest inventory conducted in 1988, and it was estimated at just 8% a few years ago. Our forests are primarily oak, beech, hornbeam, and pine. There were high levels of deforestation after independence. The country was blockaded, there was a lack of alternate fuel supplies, and people were forced to cut trees for cooking and heating fuel. Another environmental issue facing Armenia that has also been a driver of deforestation from the 19th century until today is mining, primarily for copper and also gold. What are some of the values that people place on trees? Here's a few that we've observed. Official statistics say 65,000 cubic meters of firewood are used annually for cooking and heating, which is about 20,000 cords of wood. The actual number is probably 3 times this figure, taking into account illegal logging. Forests provide habitat for birds and animals. Some of the more interesting types are Bezoar goat, lynx, and the Caucasian leopard, shown here in camera trap photos from the World Wildlife Fund. Deforestation has caused landslides and flooding in some mountainous rural areas. Trees can have a mitigating effect on these types of natural disasters. Of course, fruit is one of the more iconic and desirable attributes of our trees. In Armenia, apricot and pomegranate are the most well-known and delicious when in season. Trees often line public streets and public parks and provide air purification and much-needed shade in hot summers. Many craftsmen use wood for handmade goods like game boards, tourist souvenirs, and children's toys. And of course, there are many other values and benefits from trees that others may discuss today, including climate change mitigation, which is no small benefit. Our first program in 1994 was called Community Tree Planting, planting native tree seedlings grown in our nurseries at public sites throughout Armenia. We placed a big emphasis on fruit trees, growing as many as our nurseries would allow, some of the most common types being apricot, peach, apple, and pear. By the time we realized urban plantings were not going to reverse the tide of deforestation, we embarked on larger-scale forestry in 2004. Our forest sites are located in northern Armenia, in rural, mountainous areas that faced massive tree losses in the 90s. At the same time, we realized tree planting wasn't enough, and we introduced Armenia's first environmental education program by publishing a teacher's manual and offering hands-on lessons to students from all regions. So our trees provide many benefits or ecosystem services like clean air and food security. Another huge co-benefit is the creation of tree planting jobs in rural areas burdened by poverty. By special request from Professor Elstrand, here's a few slides showing before and after photos of our planting sites. Since 1994, we've planted more than 5.2 million trees. From that total, 500,000 were fruit trees, or about 10%. The fruit harvested from our trees has been more than 5 million pounds. And we have 70 full-time employees in Armenia and hire dozens of workers during spring and fall planting season. And we've planted at more than 1,000 sites like this all over the country. Now I want to close with a quote from our founder. Carolyn Mugar, an Armenian-American philanthropist and activist from the Boston area, is not a very public person, but it was her vision and her dedication behind the scenes that drives the Armenia Tree Project. Here's something she said as we reflected on our 20th anniversary. At the time of our founding, people were saying, how can you plant trees when we have so many emergency needs? Our answer is, it's exactly at the moment when it seems there's no hope, when you have to plant a tree, which is all about the belief in the future of this nation. It was a very bleak time because that's when the blockade started. We traveled to the countryside and saw the deforestation, and we said we have to do something about it. Thank you.